let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hi, everybody, from wherever you are on the other side of the world. Welcome. Tonight's a little bit of a different training, something that's really, really exciting. We're going to be uh, talking about the LifeWave Book of the Month. And this month of June, the book of the month is Four Agreements. Many of you have read the book. The book was launched or published about 25 years ago. I read it 25 years ago, 10 years ago, and this is the third time I've read it. And I've actually got the audio and I've been listening through it. And I tell you what, funny enough, a lot of people ask, what is the picture behind me? Those are the four agreements. I've actually got them up on the wall. I've had them up on my wall for over a decade because I try every day to live my life according to the four agreements. And what it says right at the top of the book over here, it says a practical guide to personal freedom. This is really a handbook. And if you can live your life according to these four agreements, um, everything just gets put into such a deeper perspective. So what we're going to do is I've found a little clip. It's about 12 minutes long on the first agreement. Next week, we're going to be doing the second agreement, the week after the third, and the week after that, we're doing the fourth. And Lucinda found this really cool video where this guy's actually drawing it and illustrating it and taking that agreement and condensing it into 12 minutes, covering everything. So I'm going to put the little video on, and then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of have a discussion about the first agreement, which is be impeccable with your word, and how we can sort of relate that to what we're doing in LifeWave. And George and I spoke about it yesterday. I've been 6 months in, George is 8, 9 months in, and we've learned a lot.
Seven.
And,
Seven.
oh, 7 months. Oh, so you
Yeah.
two, okay, so you're not that far ahead. Okay. So we've dealt with a lot of people over the last couple of months, and we've learned a
No,
lot. And
9 months. Nine
yes,
months. The
that's what
time
exactly.
flies.
That's what I was
Unbelievable.
thinking, George.
Unbelievable. Nine
Uh,
months. Wow.
time flies when you're having fun, hey?
Yeah, really.
And George and I were talking about it yesterday, and there's so much that we've learned and so much knowledge and information that we want to impart and share with everybody because a lot of times we think about what is it that I need to do. There's also certain things that you must not do. So we can teach you certain things that we've done and said and tried and has not worked. So we can save people a lot of time and heartache and say, hey guys, we've done this, it doesn't work. Rather try doing things this way or that way. So let me open up the slides here. Here we go straight to the agreements. Here we are. Okay, so just want to check can you see the full screen, George? Oh,
Yep.
fantastic. All right, so the Four Agreements is a book written by Don Miguel Ruiz, like I said, about 25 years ago. And the basis of the Four Agreements, I'm just going to read this statement out, reveals the source of self-limiting beliefs that rob us of joy and create needless suffering. Based on ancient Toltec wisdom, the Four Agreements offer a powerful code of conduct that can rapidly transform our lives to a new experience of freedom, true happiness, and love. And here it talks about the domestication and the dream of the planet. When we talk about domestication, this is something that was already happening 5,000 years ago. It's just a different way of using the word conditioning, programming. So, if you think about it, what does the word domestication mean? It's how you domesticate an animal. So you show the animal where they must eat, where they must go to the toilet, not to sleep, not to lie on the bed or sleep on the bed, that type of thing. So that is very basic of domesticating. And what's happening right now in the world is we're talking about domestication of human beings in the format of programming and conditioning, which I want to mention a couple of points straight after watching the video. So here goes. I'm going to play this quick 12-minute video clip. Okay, so the first agreement, number one, that we're talking about tonight is be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Right, here goes this quick little clip. Oh, wait. I'm going to share the sound. Share sound. There we go. And play.
So the first agreement is to be impeccable with your word. This agreement sounds so simple, but it is a very powerful agreement. It is also the most difficult of the 4 agreements to honor. So it is through our words that we manifest everything that happens in our lives. And this has nothing to do with the language that you speak, your intonation, or how you speak. However, this is to do with your intent. So what is your intention when you're communicating with others and with yourself? You can kind of think of the word as a type of force that creates the events that unfold in your life. So the first thing you need to realize is that your words are powerful. It says here in the book, the word is the most powerful tool you have as a human. It is a tool of magic. But like a sword with 2 edges, your word can create the most beautiful dream, or your word can destroy everything around you. So it's important to really respect the power of the word and understand how your word can change your reality and the reality of others. You know, we only need to look at the first half of the last century to see how one man's word was able to change the course of history and create so much destruction, hatred, genocide. The word can enter our mind and change a whole belief for better or for worse. So understand that our minds are very susceptible to the words and ideas of others. Quote from the book, you plant a seed, a thought, and it grows. The word is like a seed, and the human mind is so fertile. So this is not only the words and opinions of others, but also, you know, the words that you use to talk to yourself. Okay, so if you're the kind of person that does daily affirmations, maybe auto-suggestion, or in general, you just have a positive outlook on yourself, okay, you're kind to yourself, then you will be sowing the seeds of positivity in your mind. But unfortunately, our minds are all too often fertile to these seeds of negativity, so seeds of doubt, fear, hatred, and, you know, not to seeds of love, happiness, abundance, things like this. Okay, next, the word casts spells. So the book goes into this concept of us all casting spells on each other through the use of our words. And I'll tell you a short story just to illustrate this point here. So a kind-hearted man comes home from work, long hours at a stressful job, and he has an excruciating migraine. He walks into the house, his son is jumping around and singing and expressing his joy. In that moment, the father turns around and says, "Shut up, just shut up. You have a terrible voice." Now, of course, the father never meant these words that came out of his mouth. But due to the migraine, any kind of sound in that moment would trigger him to say these words to his son. But it was already too late, and the spell had been cast. In the days, weeks, and years that followed, the boy would never sing again. And he even became shy and dejected in social situations. He wouldn't like to talk to people because he felt like his voice was unattractive. And all too often, even the ones that love us the most and care about us the most are the ones that cast these spells on us. But, this doesn't mean that we should blame them for this, because, they don't realize the power of their words, and we can only forgive them. Again, we cast spells all the time with our opinions. Another quick story to illustrate. You wake up one morning, you're feeling great, and you go and sit down in front of the mirror, and you're sitting there putting on your makeup and doing your hair for 2-3 hours. And after that, you put on your new clothes that you've just bought, and you're feeling amazing. And your friend walks in and says, "What on earth are you wearing? And what did you do to your face today? It looks so weird." Now, if you accept the opinion as truth, as we all so often do, then your otherwise amazing day has just become one of your worst. And for the rest of your day, it will just be consumed by these negative thoughts. So, we don't know your friend's motivation for this opinion. Maybe she was trying to hurt you. Maybe she was envious because you were looking great. Maybe she wanted to be the best looking one at the party that day, and she saw you as a threat or something like that. We can never know. But whenever we hear an opinion and believe it, we make an agreement, and it becomes part of our belief system. So these agreements that we make over the days, weeks, months, decades even, that unfold in your life, these agreements can, they can really compound and take over your life for the better or for worse. So, people accept the opinions of others far too easily. And the more heightened your awareness becomes of these opinions being just that, an opinion, the more easily you can choose to not make an agreement with these opinions of others. Now, it doesn't explicitly cover this in the book, but it does touch on this concept, and that is that you are what you consume, or your inputs are equal to your outputs. So if you're someone that consumes negative information, maybe you're always watching the news, or you're always associating yourself with negative people, or maybe you're just someone that always likes to beat up on yourself. So you're always telling yourself, I'm stupid, I'm fat, I'm unintelligent, whatever it may be. Then if you're someone that does these things, what you're going to find is that your life is going to attract more negativity. And this all happens without you even consciously being aware of it. Because what is actually happening is your subconscious mind is taking in all this negative stimulus and manifesting it into all aspects of your life. So it's important to never underestimate the power of your subconscious mind, and always be mindful of what you are consuming on a daily basis. So be aware of what you're consuming, because this is something that you can proactively control. You can control what you consume. So maybe you need to change your environment, or change who you associate with. Maybe you have some toxic relationships that you need to just get rid of. And the things that you watch and listen to as well. Okay, and finally, the last insight from this agreement: gossip is black magic and pure poison. Unfortunately, gossip nowadays has become, it seems like, the favorite pastime of far too many people. And you may have heard this quote before, and it's also used in the book: misery likes company. So people who are suffering, they don't want to be all alone in their suffering. So they misuse their word with harmful intent, otherwise known as gossiping. And they try to harm someone and bring them down to that same level of suffering. And there's a book I love, which is called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in the book, Stephen Covey talks about this concept too, like not gossiping about others. He refers to it as being loyal to the absent, so not talking about people behind their backs. And I also did a summary on that book, so if you'd like to check it out, I will leave a link in the description below. Gossip can be compared to a computer virus. So, another short story. It's a new semester. You're walking to your first class, and you have a new professor. You bump into your friend, and your friend says, "Hey man, be careful. That guy's a real jerk, and he's also a pervert." So you walk off to class, you sit down, and as soon as the professor walks into the class, you feel this emotional poison rising up within you. And you lean over to your friend and you say to your friend, "Hey, be careful, man. This guy's a jerk, and I hear he's a pervert." Okay? Now, before too long, this is spread throughout the whole class like a virus, and then through half of the school. Okay? And it all originated from one person's word. And we really can't know what your friend's motive was for saying these words. You know, maybe he just wants to blame that professor instead of taking responsibility for the bad grades that he got in that class. You know, we can never know. But imagine every time someone gossips to you, it's like someone is inserting a tiny little code of virus into your mind, which is making you just think a little bit less clearly. And the more of these gossip virus codes that you take into your mind, the more clogged your brain becomes until eventually you can't think clearly at all. And the other main reason why we should never gossip is that if you use the word to gossip and cause harm or to cast spells on others, they will use the word to cast spells on you. So what you put out into the universe, you will also get back. So, to recap this agreement, respect the power of your word. Your word can cause great destruction or great positivity. Understand how easily the word can affect our minds and our belief systems. We are always casting spells with our word. You are what you consume. The subconscious is very powerful. And don't gossip, because gossip is pure poison.
There we go. How's that? Talking about the power of your word, being impeccable with your word. Your tongue is like a double-edged sword. You know, you can break a person, and everybody is going through something right now. Every single person has got their own challenges, their own traumas that they're going through. And you could say one wrong thing to a person, not even meaning it, and you can actually alter the course of that person's life. A couple of years back, about 14, 15 years ago, I was working for a company, and every Tuesday we used to have a sales meeting, and the person who owned the company was, when I talk about hectic, he ruled the company with an iron fist. He was very strict. He used to shout and swear at the salespeople, and he used to do the make and break tactic of breaking you down, breaking you down, breaking you down, and building you up. These sales meetings were like what I would call the boiler room. And I saw grown men cry in these meetings, how this man used to break a person down to like basically break them down to naked. You'd make people stand up on a table in front of everybody and get other people to start ripping them off and breaking them down. And yeah, the one day, there was a person that he said, "You are absolutely pathetic. You're a low life. You'll never amount to anything in your life." And that salesperson went home that evening and he got a gun, put it in his mouth, and he blew his brains out. He shot himself because of the words that were said to him that totally destroyed this man's character. And yeah, you can't say this person did this because of X, Y, and Z, but it's just very coincidental that that happened on the same night that this person was broken down to nothing. So that's what I'm saying. You've got to be so careful of the words that you use. And then, just talking about that concept of programming, talking about you're talking about talking about lies and manipulation, and there's a word, you know, the word called television. Do you know what television stands for? It says tell, lie, vision. It's lying to your vision that you are watching on a television. And we're talking about domestication being programming, programming and conditioning. So what do you do with your television? You pick up the remote to change the program. You change the program with a remote. You're getting programmed remotely. So all these words have been very, being
I used to do that
cleverly.
as a kid when I didn't like what was going on at night in my bed. I'd go like this and change the channel. When I was like 8, 9 years old. But bring this to LifeWave very practically. I've got something that I would like to say, but go bring it to LifeWave.
Yes, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I just want to do talk about the programming aspect, because what I want to bring it into LifeWave is exactly on the programming. As I was mentioning just now before everybody got onto the call, you know, when we're young, school teachers and our parents, what they do is they're obviously trying to protect us, and they program us incorrectly, on a subconscious level, not even knowing that they're doing damage down the line. And you get taught when you're very young, to protect the child, don't talk to strangers. That's what we get told. Teachers tell you, don't talk to strangers. Your grandparents tell you, don't talk to strangers. Your parents, don't talk to strangers. So what ends up happening is you go through school, and now you want to get into the workplace, into the job place. And that all entails speaking to strangers. I was very lucky at a young age. I learned about talking to strangers and rejection, very young, because a lot of people look at me now and go, "Oh, Chris, it's so easy for you. You can just talk to anybody." Never used to be like that. I was a very anxious child in grade 4. When we had to do public speaking, I stood in front of the school and I froze. Could not do public speaking. I could not speak to strangers. I was petrified to speak to strangers. And now I can talk in front of a couple of thousand people. People go, yeah, it's easy for you to do. But it was never always like that. When I was younger, straight after school, I did a door-to-door selling job. There's a word for it. They call it a hawker. I was like a hawker for 6 months in my life. We used to carry these little bags around, and you press this little button and it heated this little pad up, and you put it on a person's shoulder. It took their pains away. And we used to go into a town early hours in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and we used to go door to door, knocking on the doors and talking to the secretaries. I got sworn at, shouted at. I got physically picked up and thrown out of a store. So you want to talk about rejection? That just gives you a thick skin. But that's where I taught myself how to speak to strangers. So now what happens is you come into LifeWave, and we've got this amazing product to share with everybody. And whether it's on the product side or whether it's on the business side, um, people aren't just going to smell that you are doing LifeWave. People need to find out that you're doing it by you communicating to people. And then people say, I don't know how to speak to people. I don't know what to say. These are strangers. I can't speak to strangers. And you're like, but wow, what's wrong? I don't know. I don't know. I'm scared. I just don't know how to speak to strangers. They can't answer you and say why. You know why? Because that's from years of programming saying don't speak to strangers. So really what we're doing is we got to unprogram some of the stuff to reprogram the right things. And there's absolutely nothing wrong speaking to strangers. I speak to strangers all the time. There are so many people that are just waiting to be spoken to. And it's up to us just to talk to people, and and detaching from the outcome. I'm going to hand it right over to you, George. But I just want to quickly talk about detaching from the outcome, because what we do is once you take it from your head, right, and you put it into your heart, That's how us as human beings have been designed to speak heart to heart and speak belly to belly, and stop trying to be something that you're not. People can pick that up a mile away. You've got to be transparent, honest, and be impeccable with your word. And, we talk about you cannot say enough of the right things to the wrong person, and you cannot say enough of the wrong things to the right person. So what we do is we get caught up in the whole process of analysis called as paralysis. Can't talk to anybody until I've got the exact wording right. I want to make sure there's a full stop at the end of this and the capital letters on the T's and the P's, and it's got to be perfect. Guys, don't worry about that type of stuff. People don't care about that type of stuff. All you got to do is share from the soul, share from the heart, and get detached from the outcome. And don't worry about talking to strangers, and just be honest and be impeccable with your word. So I'm gonna, I'm gonna hand it up to George, and we're gonna open it up to everybody, and maybe share with us something that you have learned through your time being involved with LifeWave, and how you can sort of bring it back to the agreement. Number one, be impeccable with your word. Over to you, George.
I've just changed the mute so people can undo their microphones when. So look, when you're building a LifeWave organization, there's something, or any organization, there's something that it's quite important. When you've got problems and things that may be considered gossip by some people that you need to sort out, speak with your upline. Don't speak with your downline about those things, because that can the people that if I, like everybody, we all come across complicated people. So if I'm going to speak with my downline about a complicated person and go, that's going to confuse them and take their energy away from what they should be looking at and what we actually want people to be looking at. So that's a really important thing. So, if I have an issue, for example, about something, I'll probably talk to Javi. Chris may well talk about it to me, but he's not going to talk about it to somebody who he's invited. So that's an important, just a little practical thing that I wanted to underline. And talking about the boy can't sing, my mother used to tell people, the boy can't sing, the boy can't sing. And in her last days in the hospital, she said to me, you could never sing, but you are better than your father. And I said, thank you for the compliment. But I didn't take those things seriously, but it took a long time to get out from underneath. I know what you're talking about, but it took a long time to get out from underneath these things that box you in, that try and keep you. So I would never sing except in the shower. So that one got close to home. So look, anybody who's got something to say or share, please do so. You can unlock your microphone.
I saw Mark had his hand up.
Like Mark's going to say something. Great.
I do, George. Friends, I just joined LifeWave, but let me give you a little history. I came from a family of 11 Italians, a lot of dysfunction, a lot of stuff going on. And I was married 8 years, and my wife wanted to divorce and leave. And I had 3 daughters, 6, 4, and 18 months old. And she hugged them and left. So for me to raise 3 daughters to be strong, independent women, I'll tell you about them in a minute. I first had to look at myself and all the dysfunction. Fortunately, I was working for IBM, and they offered therapy and all that, free therapy. So in 2 years, I read over 100 books, did a lot of inner work to reprogram so I could raise my girls with positive affirmation and not negative influence. When we did something wrong, we got beat with a belt, with a coat hanger. I saw a chair get broken over my brother's back. I saw my sister get chased out of the house with a gun. Okay, that's enough of that. So now I reprogram myself. And my therapist said at 18 months, Mark, you've done more work than most people do in 4 or 5 years. I said, great, Mike. What else can I work on? I raised 3 strong girls. They're now 40, 38, 36. But I want to tell you, my oldest is a music producer, artist, and a fashion business in New York. She is a strong, independent woman. That's the good news. The bad news is she's a strong, independent woman, and she won't listen to me for shit. Daddy, you taught me to make my decisions, so I make them. My middle daughter is her business operations manager, another strong, independent woman, but very kind of on the spiritual side, psychic, can see auras and stuff. My youngest at 15 says, Daddy, I don't want to go to college. I'm burnt out in school. I'm going to join the military and go learn to fly helicopters. She served in Afghanistan as a nuclear, biological, chemical weapons specialist.
Wow.
I raised them with no help from one member of my family, except my sister Linda, who found me a nanny. It's just, that's the way it was. We were raised in an environment we pushed each other apart. I raised them to be strong, independent women. I re-engineered myself. And then my career kept accelerating. I was re-engineering businesses, Disney, Nestle, DirecTV, all this stuff I was doing. And then I retired from that. I moved to Austin from California. I'm from Texas, building muscle cars. And Mr. C shows up. That's cancer. Stage 2 lymphoma, over a dozen tumors. I was ill for a year. And they're saying chemo, chemo, chemo. And I said, no, no, hell no. So January 1st, I prayed to God and asked for 3 things: to enlighten me, help me understand this disease, and show me how to fix it. And Chris, by the way, 4 agreements, Covey principle. Covey principle is on my wall right here. Do you see that? That's all the Covey principles right there. 4 agreements book. You saw me.
Wow. Wow.
Look at. But see, at IBM, I was responsible for bringing in motivational speakers. I brought in this Bill Crawford, and he would speak about how to speak so people could listen, all this motivational stuff. And I was just taking it in myself. So now Mr. C shows up last year, and I'm pretty darn sick. And I started January 1 by asking God to enlighten me, help me understand the disease, show me how to fix it. And I just started feeling enlightened. I started cleansing all the sugar, dairy, alcohol, caffeine, and wheat products. I started getting better. Then I got on an ASEA redox solution, which helped me cleanse all the toxins. I got clear of cancer in less than 60 days, but I still was not healthy enough to get these 2 fillings out, amalgam fillings that are mercury. And so I did more work, and I just discovered the patches. Today is week 3. Well, in the cleansing, my vision had improved. I've worn glasses since I was 29. And up before the patches, I was still pretty clear on the right eye, but a lot of blurriness. I got on the patches, and my vision is clearing. And oh, by the way, all this cleansing, I cleared my sciatica, my arthritic knees, all my skin conditions. I used to have a dozen spots frozen on my head twice a year for 15 years. No more. I fired the dermatologist. And so here I am on LifeWave, and yes, it's like super icing on the cake, but it's my buddy Tommy, stenosis of the spine. He's been ill for 40 years, in pain for 30 years, wheelchair bound. He called me and says, Mark, obviously what I'm doing after 32 surgeries is not working. I want to do everything you've done. So he cleansed for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, got off of insulin after 20 years. Then he went to the hospital, almost died. And as soon as he got out and he answered the phone, I said, Tommy, get on the water and the patches right now. Today is 2 weeks for him. He's walking around the house. His RN said, what are you doing? I need to know your secret sauce. And his blood sugar is stabilized from the patches. His oxygenation, he's on a machine, but without the machine, the patches give him 90 to 94 oxygenation rate. He says, I'm going to get off this machine because I want to walk down the street. So Tommy is my poster child for LifeWave. In 2 weeks, he's out of the wheelchair. His blood sugar stabilized. His oxygenation stabilized. He says, I'm sleeping better than ever. He's using the Ice Wave, and he's X3949. We're going to get him the glutathione. And I am like, holy smoke. So my wife's on it. Our other friend from high school, Mike Galvin, he's got a brother with MS. He's going to get him on it. My own daughter, ADHD, 2.5 days, called me. What is this insane energy? And why is it I feel so clear in my head? I said, just keep doing it, daughter. 30 days, you'll get off the Adderall. My friend on Facebook, Deborah Maynard Baker, been in pain 10 years. On the patch now, I think a week. She said, Mark, I'm pain free after 10 years. I can't explain it, but thank you, God. Thank you. I could keep going, Chris, but I just wanted to share all this because I talked with George for the first time. We talked with Tommy. We talked with my buddy Mike. We're talking with people. My buddy Brian, who weighed 434. He's in Alabama. They eat a lot of deep fried foods. I got him on the cleanse diet, wheat, dairy, whatever. He's lost 65 pounds, but he put on the patches a week ago. Friday calls me from a car show. He's my car buddy. He says, Mark, I usually can't walk around a show like this because my knees, my legs, my ankles, everything hurts. He said, but we're walking around over an hour and I'm pretty pain-free. Well, we just had a call with him to get him straight on the patches. He was putting the X39 on at night. I'm like, how are you sleeping? He says, I don't know. But anyway, we're going to get him straight. And by him being on the phone, and I think George, you're on there, and then later Javi called. But listen, when I asked God for the three things, I also made a promise to God that I would put him first and do his work. And that's all I'm doing. I'm sharing my story of healing. I'm sharing, and I'm grateful every day. And people are resonating. Those that don't, I say that's okay, but just watch everyone else around us. And we have a 50th reunion coming up, Chris, July 26th. 2 months ago, Tommy says, I ain't going. I don't want to be sitting in a wheelchair. Everybody feeling sorry for me. Well, Sunday, he's going back to his Bible study. He said, if I can go to Bible study, I'm going to the reunion. I said, Tommy, I'll pick you up in my 700 horsepower Camaro. We're going to go to the reunion, and we're going to walk in and bring the house down. That's my story.
Wow, thank you, Mark. You know what? Your vibe attracts your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. All of us people coming together is so absolutely amazing. We're all on the same page. I'm loving this. It feels like a whole beautiful family is coming together. Thank you for sharing that, Mark.
One more quick comment, Chris. So aside from the cleansing, I had to cleanse the physical body, the emotional body, because I still had a lot of trapped energy at sciatica in my joints. And I worked with a healer, energy worker, and she cleared 3 spike proteins of COVID, cleared my, of course, the cancer, cleared lymphoid leukemia, which I had. I'm 68, and cleared other things. And rather than having to go back and revisit the memory, she just reads the energy. She detects the low vibration and does her thing. And then the next few days, I'm like, where'd all this good energy come from? Because I finally let that go. So cleanse the physical, emotional, the mental, just getting straight on truth. There's so much misinformation. And for me, I try it and I see over 3 data points of success, then I share it. Well, the first day on LifeWave, my energy was off the charts, and my workout at the gym, and I put on the Aeon by accident at 8 a.m. By noon, I was sleeping on the couch watching Westerns all afternoon, and George says, oh, no, that's a night patch. Well, now you tell me. Anyway, and then spiritual cleansing is more of meditation. I've been a meditator 35 years, and it has allowed me to hear God's voice through my heart. And when I speak, I'm no longer ego. I just share what's in my heart, and it reaches people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Can't wait to meet you in person soon. Thank you.
So both Mark and Chris said he's going to be on stages with thousands of people talking about LifeWave. Mark said the same. So who knows? Maybe you guys will be on the same stage. I love that. But Mark said something very key here, everybody. Some of you have been on the call where I think it was in January that LifeWave Corporate did, and they were talking, the guy who's, I think he's in charge of marketing, a chubby guy, nice. He talked very much about how they've come to understand. I think that's a good way of saying it. They've come to understand how LifeWave, because they're corporate, they're not us talking about it, how LifeWave is a heart-to-heart network. And there are some people who've been, how shall I say, they've had a hard time with coming to terms with quote unquote network marketing. But I tell everybody, this is a very, very different network to any other network, because this product, it's it's helping people with their health. But when one person in a family group's health is helped, the emotional energy of the group is improved, gets better, and we are raising the frequency around the world, little by little, person by person. I'm going to kill your mic, Mark, because it's given a noise. We're raising the frequency generally, people by people, person to person. Chris said he was in a bookshop. I think Warren hadn't come in. Javi hadn't come in. He was in a bookshop today, and the guy in the bookshop after half an hour said, "You're on a different frequency to other people. What are you doing?" And this sort of thing you will notice more and more and more and more as time goes by in this LifeWave story. So all of that said, has somebody else got something I would like to say?
I see we've got Harvey on. Where's Harvey? I've made him co-host.
Right.
I
Any
actually, actually sent Harvey and you, George. I sent you guys the full audio book of the
downloaded it.
4 agreements for download. Yeah.
I did.
So what I'll do is I'm actually going to upload that entire file onto my personal Dropbox link, which I've put on the group before. Anybody that wants it, just post on the group. I'll put the Dropbox link, and I'll call it the 4 agreements, and you can actually download it directly from there. Very happy to do that. Nice to listen to when you're driving around in the car. I call that your dead time. And you know what? Turn your car into, if you want to call it, a university on wheels. Use that time. Use that time to put the right stuff. You've heard the saying before, garbage in, garbage out. Stop watching the negativity of the news and the television and all that stuff. That stuff is toxic. It's poison. Don't do it. All you got to do is make a few little small shifts and just watch out. Watch out for what you're listening to, what you're watching, and just make that shift and get more positivity coming to you. And exactly what Mark was saying. My foundation is self-development. If I had to show you my bookshelf there, you sit and go, wow, you got a whole little mini library. I've read over 300 books on self-development. My very first book I read, I was 19 years old. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, talk about having that paradigm shift. Then the second book I read was Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. And that was the start of my journey, and then building myself up. And that's why it's such an awesome conversation with the guy at the bookshop today. He was a youngster, probably in his early 20s. And I walked in and I said, I'm looking for this book and that book. And he said, wow, you're very specific with what you're wanting. And I said, I've read this book, absolutely brilliant. And we were talking about books. And he said, is there any books here that you haven't read? So I was giving him a summary of each book. And this guy was blown away. And like I said, he said, your frequency is like very high. And I turned around and I showed him the patch. And he was like, oh my goodness, please send me more information. So it's very in line with what you were also saying, George. When you start getting into this different frequency, it's like tuning into a radio station. It's very simple. You've got thousands of different hertzes and waves flying through the sky, radio waves. And in the old days, okay, nowadays you just press buttons, but you remember the old days, okay, I'm giving my age away here, but to tune into a radio station, you'd have to get that dial and you'd slowly have to turn it. And you watch that little thing go to the side and it will go 98.1, 98.2.
I still do that. I love it.
98.5. And then 98.6 evening, this is the radio station coming in now, and you're tuning in on the West Coast, 4.7. No, go back. Oh, 94.6. You tuned into that radio station. And that's exactly what it's like with human beings, is tuning in. And what happens is we are resonating at quite a high frequency. So we've got to sort of hold ourselves back, because what can happen is you can end up puking on people. Here's all the info. I'm on such a high frequency. I'm flying. I'm so excited. Oh my God. Here's this info. Here's this info. Watch this clip. Watch this PDF. Read this. Get this Zoom. The person's going, oh, guys, you're on different frequencies. Yes, I get it. You're excited. I'm excited like you have no idea. Guys, I've got what you call life wave insomnia. I don't sleep from excitement, right? But I've got to notch myself down, because brand new person that knows nothing about the patches, nothing about LifeWave, are on a different frequency. You've got to meet them where they're at. You've got to tune in to their station first. And then once you've tuned in, then you're talking about drip feeding and sharing little bits of information here and there, not overwhelming a person. So you've got to sort of hold yourself back and kind of like go, all right, step by step, let's drip feed. You'll know, if you don't know what the concept of drip feeding means, what we mean by that is you go into a hospital and they put a drip in your arm, and there's that big bag of saline liquid. If they squeeze that whole bag into your body in 2 or 3 minutes, it'll literally kill you. It'll kill you. That's why the nurse sits there with that little dropper, turns the wheel, and little drips come. They regulate it. That's called drip feeding. So it can get into your body at a regulated pace. And it's exactly the same with us sharing information. You've got to regulate the information that you are sharing when you are prospecting, not to overwhelm anybody. So that's what
But
tuning
I will add, sense the thermostat of each person. Some people, for example, and I'm going to use Dr. Ali, who's here, she could take a greater amount of information than other people that I'm still talking to. You know, there's one guy who got so shocked with the American testimonials. He's like, this is like the old girlfriends of mine at high school. I can't stand it. So I'm leaving him a couple of weeks before I give him the next. I'm not going to give him anything American, because he's got his thing about, and he's American. But anyways, so look, what I would say to everybody, if you have spotted it or not spotted it, I'm just going to repost it in the chat. There's a call that Onyx did from a couple of years ago, and that's really well worth watching. Some great insights in there, and really talks very well about what Chris is talking about. So I've just reposted it in the group, and I don't know if you've had a chance to watch that one, Chris, but it's really brilliant.
Lucinda watched it yesterday and she was absolutely blown away. Absolutely blown away. So yeah, definitely watch that. I saw that Harvey was on. Harvey, are you back? I would love to hear your insights on the concept of being impeccable with your word. Agreement number 1. Harvey, are you with us? Yes,
I'm right
yes,
here.
yes,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
yes, loud and clear.
Yeah. So I don't know. I came in pretty late, and I came in to hear Mark's testimony, which I heard it before on the phone when I was on the phone, and it was so impactful. But we're talking about the power of words, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I always say life and death is in the power of the tongue, you know, and what you speak has power. And this is why I love to speak life over people, because in life where we all hold on to things from the past, and then we end up believing it. And I use myself as an example. We all go through storms in life, and then it's the power of words. If people say something to you long enough, you end up believing it. And like they say, there's a saying, life and death is in the power of the tongue. If you say you can't do something, you won't. And if you say you're gonna do something, you will. And then if someone says, in terms of business, if someone's, I'm not gonna succeed in LifeWave, then you won't. And if you say you're gonna be an SPD in LifeWave, guess what? You will, eventually. The power of the tongue is so big. And when I got into LifeWave, I said, this is what I'm going to do. This is my target, and I'm going to stick to it. And what you speak has power, folks. And I'm so sorry I missed this, because this was so cool. I wish I got here on time, but I had another meeting, and had to pick up the boys from school. But speak life over yourself and speak life over your team. And everyone's gonna go through those difficulty times. You know, everybody, and some different than others. And that's why you surround yourself with like-minded people and just speak life into people and show them that, you know, this is part of the process. You know, and this is why I'm always speaking life over people genuinely. And what happens? It comes to life. You sow a seed into somebody, you water that seed, and what happens? It just germinates. And from day one, leader backed by leader, backed by leader, backed by leader in this group. You know, it's just amazing to see how it grew. So, you know, words have power. Make sure what you speak out of your mouth is something that's going to feed you and feed your team. Be careful what you let into your eyes. Be careful what you let into your ears. And really be careful what you let out of your mouth, because that's going to be the path to your success for sure. There you go.
Oh, thank you for that, my brother. Thank you. Yeah. Like I was saying right at the beginning, your tongue is like a double-edged sword, and you got to use it
Right.
wisely. Use it wisely, because you
Right.
could make or
Right.
break a person. You could make or break them.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Make and break a person. You said it. Love it.
Yeah. So that's if anybody else on the call would like to share their insights
I would suggest one thing before, and I would love to hear from anybody who wants to say anything. But years and years ago, when I was in another network, the network I said, after a year and a half, I'm not going to do networking ever again, or product network. I went to a Toastmasters meeting because I wanted to find people for my network. And in that Toastmasters meeting, after the first meeting, I thought, this is something interesting here, because not because of what people are speaking, but because I'm watching people kindly evaluate other people. And in the first meeting, I said, can I come to a second meeting? And in the second meeting, I said to the guy the speeches are given, people evaluate the speeches, some verbal evaluations, some written evaluations, but I guess he was the president of the club. He gave an evaluation of everything else besides the speeches. And I said to him at the end, I said, how could you do that? Because what you did here was you gave helpful, positive evaluation to each one of the people who did something without criticizing them, which is what we were talking about earlier. So I would certainly recommend for anybody who wants to improve their ability to reach out to people. There's something they do in Toastmasters called table topics, which is they give you an object or a word or whatever, and you have to talk for 1 minute. You can try it on me. You can tell me anything, and I'll talk for 2 minutes about it. It doesn't matter what it is, and I'll take it where I want to. You can try that in a minute. But I recommend to anybody who feels like they want to improve, do 1 year of Toastmasters. Afterwards, they get into their whole leadership track, so on and so forth. But 1 year of Toastmasters will be very helpful for anybody who feels they might have a difficulty communicating to other people. You can try it on me if you like, for fun. But I'd love to hear what anybody wants to share or wants to ask as well about our LifeWave story.
I won't take up everyone's time, but I didn't mention something. Part of my healing was to eliminate all negativity around me. And I shut down news. I got rid of DirecTV. And sorry to say, I had to push out a lot of family because they're still in the negative vortex of how we grew up. And it's, oh, you're doing voodoo medicine, meditation. Oh, you need to come back to the Catholic Church. It was a lot of shit. But I wanted to tell you, George, why not call MLM HLM? And that's heart level healing.
We'll call that
healing.
Okay, that's a good one.
Wow.
An HLH network. I'll do that.
This will give you your life back.
So Heather.
Yes, George. I do have something. My eyes continually, they are continuing to improve. and I can see much better in the distance than I was seeing.
Oh
And
my
also, I've noticed I have a damaged nail bed on my right thumb. And the dermatologist said, no, well, you've damaged that. And now when you're getting older, it's not regenerating. There's nothing we can do about it. And it's healing. It's growing back together again.
And you know, you can't imagine, or maybe you can, how much pleasure it is to hear this with your eyes. I mean,
Yes.
we met what, a month ago, maybe 3.5 weeks ago, and you'd been with the X39 for maybe a month at the time, 3 weeks to a month.
That's
And
right, 3 weeks.
this is such you know, it's you know, again, thank you, Lord.
That's right, yes. And I believe my gray hair is receding as well. I'm getting the color back. So there's a few things I'm noticing. Yeah, definitely.
I love that.
I did a comment. I have black hairs growing in my beard now. And if my hair grows back, I got to be on stage to talk about that. Heather, I did all the diet cleansing. I've worn glasses since I was 29. I'm 68.
Yeah.
When I started doing all the cleansing, I first went to my glasses in my 50s, too strong, 40s, too strong. At 38, I was wearing those glasses. I have all pairs. I'm now wearing the glasses I wore when I was 32. And I'm on Lightwave, and every week I see improvements in my eyes. And I'm going to get to 29 where I don't have to wear them anymore. I promise you.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So, thank you, Heather, and thank you, Mark. Anybody else would like to say something or ask even LifeWave related questions? I do like questions. I do like observations, and I also say, count on us to support you. We're here to help you get successful in LifeWave for those who want to do it.
I tell you yeah, there's a couple of things that I'm sort of like holding back on sharing because it's for next week sharing when we're talking about don't take things personally. That's agreement number 2. Then don't make assumptions, number 3. So there's so many cool things. You know, here we're just getting like warmed up. We're just talking about really the basics. But then we're going to get into some really cool, juicy stuff next week, Thursday, and the Thursday after, specifically on the assumptions. Let me tell you something. That's something that we all walk into. We make assumptions so quickly, and so many times what you've got in your head so different to what the reality is. Hey, Mark, I think you can see you agreeing on that one. Big time, big time. And I tell you, you know, I am. I don't think people quite realize where we are right now with LifeWave. We are literally in the beginning stages. Yes, the company's been around for 19 years. To me, that was one word that popped into my head was stability. I've been looking for stability for the last 2 decades. I kind of go, I wish I joined 5 years ago. I'm actually glad I didn't. Everything had to be in place now. We had to be part of quantum field. We had to be part of quantum field. This is a tribe, a vibe of a tribe of amazing people all coming together. And we all had to wait for certain things to be put into place first. And obviously, as we all know, the X39 is still brand new. It's a new kid on the block. It's only 3.5 years old. And that's what's taking LifeWave onto that next level. And we are basically, we've got a window. There's a window period that is open. Let's call it for the next 3 years. A 3-year window period that we're sitting in right now, where we are literally still right here in the beginning. We haven't even got started. You know, if you look at a rocket ship that's ready to go and launch into space, did you know that 90% of the fuel or the gas gets burnt out within 10 seconds of it starting to launch? It burns all the fuel. So you're looking at that rocket ship getting ready, and you know it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, and you know it's starting to burn all that fuel, burn all the fuel, and you see it. It goes lift off. but it's just going, it's not moving. It's not moving. Let me tell you, do you know how much energy is getting released out of those rockets? But you're going, how can all that energy be getting released? I'm not seeing anything. Ah, the same with LifeWave. You're doing a lot of work now, but you're not seeing it yet. It's having that faith. It's having that belief in what's to come, that unseen belief. So as that rocket ship is burning that fuel, it's taking off very slowly. But man, is it burning that gas? It is burning 70%, 80%. And then it has to drop off a lot of its weight as well and get those engines warmed up. And have you seen it? It does this, goes up, 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 and suddenly it starts to get that speed. And off it goes. And that's exactly what it's like with this business. You're doing a lot of work in the beginning that you might not be seeing anything going, not going as fast as I thought. Don't worry, it's all the unseen things that are happening in the background with all those seeds that you are planting. And once this baby kicks in and that momentum kicks in, it becomes like a runaway fire that you can put all the water on in the world to try and put it out. You won't be able to put it out. And that's
Can
when
I
you get
stop,
that
Mark?
exponential curve and that momentum just starts to kick in and then take off into outer space. Outer space.
Could I stop you, Chris? Could I stop Mark?
No, I'm too
Nope.
excited.
No, yeah. Even if I say I'm walking away, I'm on a holiday for a year, but you guys also stop, it's not going to happen.
That's right. Yep. Yep.
So there was a message from Ali, 2 messages. Toastmasters changed her life. So for anybody who wants to develop their speaking and ability to talk, because my mother said when we were in New York, George talks to everybody. Yeah, I talk to everybody. I love it in New York because everybody talks back to you. In London, you talk to people and they look at you, is he mad? So, and the other thing she said, I don't know if you've seen this, Mark, Dr. Ali said, I need you to join my next call. Congratulations, Mark. Mark wants to say something. Yeah, tell.
To get on stage. I was shy as a kid because of all the trauma and stuff, and shy through. I didn't date till I was like, but I was working for IBM, and I saw these cool marketing guys get on stage, and my girlfriend said, "Let's go skydiving." And I thought, what? It got all the cobwebs out of my system. And if you can jump out of a plane, I went on stage, I spoke. I didn't even know what I was saying, but I got these applauses, and I'm like, well, it must have been good. And it took months for me to start being in the present to realize what I was saying. But I just would speak from the heart, speak what you know of. And when I didn't know something, I'd say, I don't know, but I can go find the answer. And I got over that shyness and became 3 years, 100% club, yada, yada, yada. But I didn't go to Toastmasters for a year. I did 3 skydiving jumps and I was there.
That's another way. You wouldn't get me doing that one.
Come on.
Leap out of a plane. So far, I haven't done that.
I've paraglided. I haven't jumped out of an airplane, but I've run off the side of a cliff, off the side of a mountain, and I'm on a parachute. Wow. Doof, doof, doof. Get your adrenaline going. Another level. Put me in the sky. I'm happiest when I'm in the air. Okay, I think Harvey, if you want to pop in to maybe close off the meeting, I think
I'm just going to say this though. You want to
yeah.
try any word or any object or anything with me and see where I go with it?
Okay, right. Let's do this exercise. Okay. Buddha.
I
How would you
can't
talk about
say I'm
Buddha?
going to. That's a little Buddha. I
That's a
can't
little
quite.
Buddha.
Okay, so when I was about 12 years old, an old friend of our family called Margit, she was Hungarian. She'd been trapped in a displaced person camp during the war. She came to England. She was a wonderful person. And her job was to, for the British Foreign Office, was to welcome visiting dignitaries and take them around London for their visit to London. So she would always be with us when we were children. And as she got older, I would visit her in her home. And in one of my last visits to her, she said, please choose anything in my home for you to take with you, for you to have on your travels. And she had a little Buddha, which I still have on my shelf in my bedroom and see that fairly often. Now, I do remember being in Bali with a pretty crazy English painter. He was being a painter at the time, who'd walked around India with a trident and a begging bowl, and that's how he lived. So he told me that he went up to Dharamsala and he met the Dalai Lama. Oh no, the Panchen Lama. Now the Panchen Lama, I don't really know the exact relationship between the Panchen Lama and the Dalai Lama, but he said to me this person had Mongols, men from Mongolia, who were his personal bodyguards. These men were so big, and they let him into the presence of the Panchen Lama, who looked at him, and he said his eyes were so big they were like cow eyes, and it knocked him into a space that it took him about a week to come down from. I took that exactly where I wanted because you gave me a Buddha. You see, you can. It doesn't matter what anybody gives you. You can take it anywhere, and that's fun. I enjoy that. So for me, table topics was the most fun bit of Toastmasters.
I love that, George. That is so cool. I think we can do a whole session just having fun. And
I think so.
you know what we do? I've got an idea. What we do is once we finish the training on the 4 agreements, is we get everybody on and we go, right, we want Warren to give a topic to Evelyn. And then Warren has to give an idea, and then Evelyn must talk on that for 2 minutes, and then we shuffle it around to everybody on the screen. You know how much fun we can have with that? That is so cool.
A lot of fluidity. By the way, welcome Warren. Warren is an English gentleman who creates, grows wheatgrass. So Warren's wheatgrass in Malaga in Spain, and he's with Merle and Jean in this story.
Awesome. Welcome, Warren. Welcome.
Yeah, hi. Hello, everyone.
So you got another English accent. Let's hear some more English accent there.
Awesome.
I'm still getting the hang of how to use Zoom. Do you actually hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Loud and clear.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. All right. Yeah, nice to join in. Nice to see you guys. Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure. Nice to meet you, Warren. Nice to meet you. Well, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. I hope you guys got something out of tonight, and we'll see you guys on the training on Saturday. That's 7 p.m. SA time, 7 p.m. Spanish time, and I think it's 6 p.m. UK time. And then
So
next
for
week,
those who don't know, that's not us. That's the
Quantum Field team
training, which is 1 p.m. US.
Awesome.
And they do that every Saturday, except when it's like a Memorial Day or something like that.
Perfect. Guys, have a fantastic weekend, and see you guys on the Zoom call on Wednesday night. And then next week, the same link, same time, we're doing agreement number 2. Can't wait. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your evening. Love you all. Bye, guys.